Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As mentioned in the last video, I'm going to be making a Father's Day meal, and the recipe is going to consist of peppered steak, and I pre-cooked the steak that I'm using already because for this recipe the best steak to use is flank steak, and I didn't have any flank steak. I had sirloin steak, and the sirloin steak takes a little more time to prep and to cook. So make sure for this recipe, if you're gonna try this peppered steak, make sure you try to get the flank steak because it's thinner and it's easier to cook. You don't have to pre-cook that with, it's like a stir-fried peppered steak. So the sirloin steak I already cooked and sliced. You're gonna slice it in thin slices, as you'll see. That was already seared in the skillet. All that I did to this was, so that you can see before I begin the recipe, was to sear it in the skillet. I washed the steak, added salt, black pepper, and some garlic powder. And then I just added a little olive oil in the skillet and seared it on both sides. Then, because this was very thick, I sliced it and seared it again in the skillet. Then I placed the skillet in the oven to have it kind of cook some more. Why I like my steak well done, some people don't. So this might be a little bit overdone. However, I feel like when I stir fry it for the peppered steak recipe, it will be fine. But I know it was cooked through. Okay, so again, I'm using the sirloin steak, but for this recipe, the best steak to get is flank steak, or the thinner steak that you are gonna be slicing very thinly. You know, in its original state, you're gonna slice it very thinly. For the peppered steak recipe, season it with salt and pepper. The garlic powder is optional, and then you would sear it and brown it in your frying pan before you add the other ingredients. So the other ingredients needed for the peppered steak, guys, is gonna be bell peppers. So the bell pepper is gonna be, you know, the most popular ingredient here, and you can choose to use whichever color you want. And you're gonna need minced garlic and ginger. So minced garlic and ginger, we're gonna saute these first, and then we're also gonna need a little sauce, and this comprises of a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and a 1/4 cup of water just to make the sauce. So guys, not much. You can also add cornstarch to thicken your sauce if necessary. However, I'm not using any cornstarch for this recipe, okay? So the only thing that is needed would be cornstarch or sesame seeds to sprinkle on top. I'm not using sesame seeds for this recipe, so again, optional for me, and the cornstarch you'd use to thicken if needed, okay? So guys, let's begin the recipe. Okay, so hopefully you can see, guys, visual. So to the frying pan, you know, we're gonna add the oil to saute. And I'm gonna say just enough to coat the frying pan that you're using. And so while that heats, as mentioned, guys, this should not take too long, so while that heats to make, okay? So for Father's Day, you know, you want to try something different. If you're not taking your dad out, you know, or, you know, your significant other out for dinner, and you want to make a meal beforehand, this is a good recipe to make. I am going to be serving it with baked potatoes, and with that you can add toppings to it. So at the end, you will see the baked potatoes served with the peppered steak. So you know, with baked potatoes you can add a lot of different toppings to it. The bacon piece is also very tasty to add to it with the cheese, and you know, sour cream, whatever topping that you want to add, butter, to make it very tasty. So that is a good idea. And you know, even if you're taking your dad out for Father's Day or your significant other, this could also be a meal that you could still treat him with, you know, maybe the next day or so, you know, just to continue Father's Day going. Why not, right? Okay, so I'm gonna add the garlic and the ginger. You can see, guys, to saute. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. And don't want it too hot for it to burn. So it's a little bit too hot. And you know, to this we're gonna add the bell peppers, saute, and I'm gonna say, guys, make the bell pepper saute for like 1 to 2 minutes or so, just so that they get a little bit, you know, soft. You just keep stirring the bell peppers, guys, and you know, you see the color start to change a little bit. It softens. You can see that it's getting soft. Color's not really changing, but you can see that the texture is getting softer. Turn this up a little bit. And then to this, I'm gonna add the steak. Guys, you want to try to slice the steak as thin as maybe the bell peppers are long and thin. And we're gonna stir. And to this, we're gonna add our sauce. So again, this meal does not take too long, especially if you're using the flank steak, which is very easy to cook. It's more like a stir fry kind of a meal. And remember that the sauce has just soy sauce, sugar, and some water. And we're gonna add this. And some water. Now guys, we're gonna allow this to cook for, I'm gonna say maybe about 5 minutes, or 3 to 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, guys. We're gonna cover this. I will add a little bit more salt. And pepper to taste. But remember too that the steak was already seasoned before. And let me cover this. And guys, the soy sauce also, remember the soy sauce has a lot of sodium, so you might not need to add any more sauce to it, especially because the soy sauce is going to flavor it along with the sugar. You are going to taste it though while it's cooking to see if it might need any other, you know, seasoning. However, the steak, you don't want it to lose that the flavor. So we're going to allow that to cook for a little bit while we put the toppings on the potatoes. Okay, so I already baked the potato. Let me move this out of the way. Okay guys, I'll have to keep moving the camera so that you can see. Okay, so here, you know, your regular topping for your potato is gonna be, you know, the sour cream, cheese, butter, and bacon pieces is a good topping to use. I'm not using bacon pieces. So to the potato, I'm gonna be adding just some cheese. I have cream cheese as well, sour cream, and some onion slices, onion pieces. So we're gonna open our potato. This was already baked. Like so, guys. So let's check on our peppered steak. Let's turn this down a little bit so that you can see, guys, what's going on. And we're just stirring it a little bit. And as I said, you know, although the steak looked overdone before, but it's softening now with the bell peppers. And I'm just gonna allow that to cook so that the sauce kind of thickens a little bit. So once more, you can always add cornstarch to that, guys, to thicken quicker. However, I'm not using the cornstarch, but if you want your sauce to be thicker, you can always add the cornstarch to it. So for the potatoes, guys, now we're gonna just prick it with a fork. And I'm gonna add the cream cheese. Add some cheese to this. Guys, make sure the potatoes are very hot, because you know when it's very hot the cheese will melt. These potatoes were baked a little before, so you're not seeing the cheese melt as much. This we're gonna add our sour cream. like so, guys. And then we can turn this off now. I'm gonna sprinkle, hopefully you can see, guys, with some onion pieces just for the color. And once more, guys, if you have bacon pieces, that's also a great topping for the baked potatoes. All right, so let's look at our peppered steak. Guys, just so that you can see, let's bring this up somewhat. And that's what it looks like. So now we're gonna serve. Okay, guys, so let's put this in a plate. Guys, I think the color does so much for the meal. And you want to highlight some of the bell peppers. Like so. Okay, guys. Let's cover that. And now let's look at the finished product. Okay, guys, so this is how the meal would look. Hopefully you can see this. Not sure what's going on today. But yeah. Okay, so you would serve this with guys, with something like the baked potatoes and the toppings included and the peppered steak. So again, once more, guys, this recipe is not very hard to do. Just a couple ingredients needed, and it will make a very tasty and nutritional Father's Day meal for Father's Day. So please go ahead and try this recipe, and I will link the recipe description in the box. And please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And again, this is Brookglass saying until next time, take care, guys. See you later.